Today, we're visiting a truly bizarre university. Keep your eyes wide open and don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
Look at these people. One of them is not a student. Can you figure out who it is? This lady in black is a supernatural creature. Look at the mirror. Both she and her reflection are facing you. It's not possible in the real world. Students at this university aren't exactly known for their honesty. Look, it's midterms, and someone is cheating during an exam. Can you help the professor find this dishonest student? It's this guy. He has answers written on his arm. Thanks to your help, the professor has caught the cheating student, but she's a kind-hearted woman and gives the guy another chance. He needs to solve this riddle to pass the exam. Would you maybe like to help the poor student you've exposed? Keep in mind that this riddle has challenged many intelligent minds, and for good reason. The missing number in the third circle is 225. The numbers in these circles seem to be completely random at first glance. But let's perform some basic arithmetic operations, addition, subtraction, and multiplication, and try to figure out the pattern. We need to follow these steps. Look at the first circle and pair the opposites. The first pair gives us 11. As for the second pair, we need to calculate the difference between the numbers. It's 9. The next step should be finding the difference between the two results and squaring this number. We get 4. Let's do the same for the second circle to make sure that this is a working scheme. And now, let's find the missing number. So, 225 is the answer. The exams are over, and students are celebrating. But the party is kinda shady. Look around. Someone who doesn't belong to this college has sneaked inside. Can you spot the intruder? Look at this young lady. Her feet don't seem to be touching the ground. She must be a ghost. During the holidays, supernatural beings occupied the college, and now they're haunting the students. Even worse, someone has bitten your friend. Which of these people is a vampire? This young man has a t-shirt that looks as if it has some bloodstains on it. But that's just a print. This woman has a whole garlic knob hanging as a necklace on her chest, so she's not a vampire. But look at the man who's drinking some red liquid. I bet it's not fruit juice. He's actually the one we should be aware of. Imagine coming back to your dorm and finding out that your roommate is missing. Plus, everything around you looks kinda suspicious. Strange sounds, weird smells. Is your roommate hiding some terrible secret? Let's look at the sky. See that full moon? Now, pay attention to the walls and the floor of your room. You can notice scratch marks and chunks of fur here and there. That's the answer. Your roommate is a werewolf. After figuring out your roommate's secret, you realize you need to clear your head. You go to a morning pool party. People are swimming, playing around, and having fun. But one of the guests is a mermaid. Can you figure out who it is? This girl just pretends to be a mermaid. She even has matching makeup. This guy is wearing special gloves with membranes between the fingers. The mermaid is actually this girl who's staying as far away from the swimming pool as possible. She's even wearing a raincoat, all because if even a small water droplet touches her skin, she will get her tail. It's time to go back to school, only to find out that one of your professors is possessed. Who is that? This man has red eyes and messy hair, but that's most likely because he's sleep deprived. This woman is unnaturally pale, but she's suffering from food poisoning. Look at that piece of pizza next to her. It sure doesn't look fresh. At the same time, the guy on the right has two shadows instead of one. He's definitely possessed. Okay, now let's move on to something less supernatural, but no less tricky. Imagine having to empty a jar of milk and a jar of water into a bowl. But of course, there are several conditions. You must be able to see the border between the milk and the water. You must be able to separate the milk from the water. And finally, you aren't allowed to use any kinds of dividers to keep these two liquids apart. How can you do it? All you need to do is to pour the water into the bowl first and freeze it. Now all that's left to do is to add the milk. In the city where people are keen on brain teasers and riddles, 4% of people don't list their phone numbers. So if we select 40 random people from the phone directory, how many of them will have unlisted numbers? The answer is 0%. You see, if the numbers of these 40 people are in the phone directory, they're already listed by default. David invited 7 friends to his birthday party. They brought a beautiful big cake, but they couldn't eat it unless it was divided into 8 equal pieces with just 3 cuts. Luckily, they managed to do this and could enjoy the treat. Would you be able to do the same? To fulfill this task correctly, you need to follow the next steps. First of all, cut the cake across the diameter through the middle point. After that, cut the cake horizontally. Now you already have 4 equal pieces. And finally, cut the cake across the diameter, perpendicular to the first cut. There you go, 8 equal pieces and just 3 cuts. Now, look at the poor guy. One of his friends has pulled a paint bucket prank on him. Look at the rest of the people attentively and try to figure out who it was. It was definitely Luke. Look at his pants. There are paint stains there. Now, look at these girls. They're in a dark basement tied with ropes. Who is going to be the first to escape? Most likely, it'll be the first girl. She's got long, beautiful nails. She's bound to have a file to look after them. It can help her cut through the rope. There's been a robbery on the train, and one of these people is hiding the stolen goods. Who can it be? It's this woman. She only pretends to be pregnant. Her belly has a bizarre shape. It's suspiciously square. The police had been looking for Kyle for 2 days. The guy went hiking and never came back. Finally, he was found. Someone had hit him on the head and left him lying in the bushes. Kyle only managed to say, "friend," and lost consciousness. The police officers had 3 suspects, all of them Kyle's friends. Zachary said he spent these last days at work getting ready for a conference. Jeremy told the detectives he'd sprained his ankle and had been in bed for 4 days. And Billy explained that he'd been to New York. The man even showed the police officers his boarding pass. Who's responsible for the accident with Kyle? Billy showed the police just one boarding pass from Chicago to New York. Then how did he get back from New York? His story sounds fishy. Jordan was very late for a job interview, but when he drove up to the office building, he found out there were no free parking spaces. He decided to leave his car a bit farther from the entrance. But even though there were several other vehicles in that area, parking was prohibited there. Luckily, Jordan came up with an idea and didn't get fined. What did he do? He took a parking ticket from another car and put it on his windshield. It looked as if he had already been fined. Mr. Perry was at a company meeting when suddenly all the lights went off due to a blackout. When they came back on, Mr. Perry's valuable pen was missing. He asked his colleagues what they were doing in the dark. John said he was replying to his emails. Tom claimed he was looking for a flashlight in his bag. Lisa said she was just sitting still, waiting for the lights. Mr. Perry quickly figured out who the liar was. Can you? It was John. His claim of replying to emails on his laptop doesn't make sense because the power outage would have affected the Wi-Fi. Somebody had been ruining the famous paintings at the City Museum. Detective Harris received a tip that the vandal, known for wearing disguises, would strike again tonight. At the museum, he spotted 3 individuals acting oddly. Can you help him identify the person damaging the artworks? The first person might be holding a paintbrush, but its bristles are clean. The second person has paint on her shoes, but it's just a designer pattern. The third person, however, has fresh paint on their gloves. That's the vandal. Mrs. Parker lost her precious necklace at the community fair. She remembers 3 women bumping into her around the time it disappeared. Can you figure out who took it? The first woman has a small envelope-style clutch bag. It looks too thin to hold anything bulky like a necklace. The second woman has a full shopping bag, but it's transparent and there's no necklace inside. The third woman has a scarf tied loosely around her neck, but there's something shiny beneath it. That's where the necklace must be. At the town bake sale, a delicious chocolate cake decorated with cherries disappeared. When the guards checked the security footage, they spotted 3 bakers who were near the cake last. Take a look at them all. Can you tell who swiped the cake? Baker 1 has frosting on their apron, but it's vanilla, so it can't be him. Baker 2's apron has cherry color smudges on it, but look at his display. He's selling cherry cupcakes, so those smudges must be the result of that. Baker 3 has a large, empty cake carrier hidden under his cake display, and chocolate fingerprints on the corner of the glass. That's the cake thief! The International Detective Agency was searching for Annabelle Lee, a robber who stole $100 million from a bank. One of the detectives got an anonymous call that she was going to be at the airport. So, he rushed there and spotted 3 suspicious-looking ladies. Can you help him catch the real Annabelle Lee? Check out the wanted poster of Annabelle Lee here on the alerts board. she has a beauty mark on her left cheek, but the First Lady's beauty mark is on her right cheek, so she can't be her. And even though the Second Lady has the same hair color, she has no beauty mark. So the real Annabelle Lee is the Third Lady. The beauty mark is on the correct cheek. She just dyed her hair. It was Lily's first day of internship, and she was going to work at the lab of a famous scientist. During an experiment, she accidentally pressed a wrong button, which suddenly opened a vortex that transported her to a mystical maze. There were 3 paths she could take to escape. The first path was covered in flames. The second path had a deep, unending pit. And the third path was a narrow corridor with swinging axes. Which one should she choose? Lily should choose the third path with the swinging axes. Do you see the small, hidden button on the wall at the entrance of the corridor? It says Stop Axes on it. By pressing the button, she can deactivate the swinging axes long enough to make her way through the corridor without harm. Mr. Barnabas was the CEO of a big company. One day, his employees came to his office to ask for sick leave. Eliza said she was having stomach issues, and Richard said his broken arm was giving him a hard time when using his computer. Mr. Barnabas immediately realized that one of them was lying. Can you? It's Richard. His cell phone is in his right pocket. He would have to use his broken arm to put it in there. Mrs. Penny's prized roses in her garden were mysteriously pruned overnight. She suspected one of her neighbors. Take a look at them all. Can you help Miss Penny find out who did it? The first neighbor might be wearing his gardening gloves, but they're spotless. So he must have just put them on. The second neighbor is holding a pair of shears, but they look so rusty that she couldn't have used them to cut all those roses. The third neighbor, however, has freshly cut rose stems in their compost bin. That's our rose pruner. Jason was working on his laptop at the college library. He went out to get some snacks, but when he came back, his laptop was gone. There were 3 different students with him in the library. Can you help Jason figure out who took his laptop? Student 2 here is wearing a big bulky jacket, even though he's indoors and the weather outside looks warm and sunny from the window. That's suspicious. So he must be hiding the laptop in there. 3 campers were sitting around the campfire enjoying their s'mores. However, when they realized that there's only one s'more left, they started arguing. Camp counselor Mr. Harris decided to put an end to their argument by saying, "Whoever can answer my riddle correctly will get this last s'more. The more of this there is, the less you see. What is it?" The correct answer is darkness. Mr. Nelson was the owner of a pet supply store. One day, one of the luxury gourmet dog treats he was selling in his store got stolen. The police officer visited the houses of his last 3 customers, Maria, Edward, and Arthur. Can you help the officer figure out who's the treat thief? Take a look at this pet portrait Maria has on the wall. She has a cat, so there's no reason she would steal dog treats. And look at the dog food package Arthur has next to the door. On the package, it says, "Strict diet food for allergic dogs." That can only mean his dog couldn't eat the gourmet treats anyway. Then, it must be Edward who stole them. Every day, Mrs. Johnson visited the park to feed the birds. One day, she spotted a young mother and her sweet baby playing. She couldn't help but wonder who the father of the baby was, but she didn't want to ask the mother about it since she thought it would be rude. She noticed 3 men who were all at the park at the same time. Can you help her figure out who Elisa's husband is? Take a look at the second guy. His eyes are green just like the baby, so he must be the father. Blair, Chuck, and Serena were all flying to their holiday destination on a private jet. However, during their plane ride, one of the engines failed and all the passengers had to evacuate. Who is least likely to land safely? Both Blair and Chuck have parachutes in their backpacks. See the pins here? But look at Serena's bag. It doesn't have a parachute pin. Barney was scuba diving with his friend Amy. When they finally reached the coral reefs, Barney noticed that this was actually a dream. Can you spot the three oddities which made him think so? Firstly, take a look at Amy's scuba tank. It's not a tank, it's a big plastic bottle. She can't be diving with that. Secondly, do you see the SOS writing on the sand? It's not possible to write anything underwater. And lastly, check out this cute dolphin. It doesn't have any fins. Jules is participating in a space mission to Mars. The captain gives her a task to decorate the spaceship. Write something on a wall that makes a person sad when read in good times, and also makes one happy when read in sad times. It took a while, but Jules nailed it. What did she write? Nothing lasts forever. This is it. Jules and her fellow astronauts enter the spaceship and take their seats. Before the launch, Jules has to take care of one last thing. It's under you when it's whole. It shifts above you when you remove the first letter. It's all around you if you remove the second letter as well. What is it? A chair. It's time to start the mission. The captain needs to enter a secret 4-digit password to launch the spaceship. He wrote a little hint on his arm in a secret language. Can you crack the code? All we need to do is to count the number of intersections between the lines, and the code is 2, 5, 4, 8. Jules enters a room with 4 similar sleeping capsules. She needs to wake up her fellow astronaut, Josh, but she doesn't know where he is. There are 4 people sleeping in these capsules at the moment: Josh, Astrid, the physicist, Phil, the doctor, and Leo, the cook. Phil's capsule is next to Astrid. The person sleeping in the first capsule is a doctor. Also, Josh is not sleeping next to a physicist. Where's Josh? Easy peasy. Josh can only be sleeping in the 4th capsule. Jules and Josh enter the Starship bridge. Can you find anything weird here? Look out the window. Birds don't fly in outer space. It's breakfast time. Jules goes to the dining room. Oh no! Someone finished the last tube with her favorite peanut butter.
Really?
Jules questions 3 suspects. Josh says, "I didn't do it. I'm allergic to all kinds of nuts." Astrid says, "I woke up, brushed my teeth, and came here. I don't know what's going on." Leo says, "I prepared food for everyone and left my post for 2 minutes to visit the restroom. Sorry, I didn't notice any signs of a break-in." Who's lying? It's unlikely that a person with allergies could be sent on a space mission. Therefore, Josh is lying. The spaceship has a garden and a special lab that stores samples of different plants from Earth. Tonight, someone broke into the system and destroyed a couple of very important plants. The lab is protected by a special passcode, so Jules suspects that it might be one of their robots. Cameras in the lab have been broken before the incident, so she can't see any visual evidence. Can you help Jules find the guilty one among these 6 robots? Take a closer look at this robot. His light bulb is broken and its fragments lie under the broken CCTV camera. So he's the one who sabotaged the lab work. Thankfully, Jules manages to restore the plants, and soon they receive a solid harvest. Can you spot anything odd in this picture? Money doesn't grow on trees. Jules picks a lot of apples in the lab garden. The crew cannot eat so much at once, so she decides to preserve them. On the eve of canning, Jules finds out that someone has stolen all the fruits.
Oh no.
She questions the crew members. Leo says,
"Why would I sabotage the mission? I'm the cook, so it's my job to manage food supplies."
Josh says, "I saw a couple of apples floating in outer space the other day. I took a picture, but I didn't do it." And Astrid says, "I was sick yesterday, so I spent all day in bed. I didn't touch any food, including apples." Who's lying? Astrid. She said she didn't touch the apples, but there's an apple core in her pocket. Later that day, Jules receives an emergency message from Josh. Can you help her crack it? Mathematically, this riddle doesn't make any sense. But if we cut the upper half of the whole expression, we'll get the phrase, "I love you." The next morning, Jules goes to check the garden. She spots a creepy monster and reports the emergency to the captain right away. Can you spot the monster too? Over here. Jules tries to catch the monster, but he manages to escape from her. This creature is a shapeshifter, so he turns into one of the crew members. Jules interrogates the suspects. The captain says, "I was video chatting with my family in the cabin. I didn't see any monsters." Josh says, "I heard loud noises from the corridor, but I couldn't leave my post." Dr. Phil says, "I'm having back pain, so I was doing exercises in the gym." Who's the monster? Phil, take a look at his palms. Both of them are left. This monster seems to have a poor understanding of human anatomy. Jules puts the monster in a cage, and now her task is to find the real Phil. Crack this rebus to help her figure out his location. Toilet. Jules finds Phil, and thankfully, he's okay. But there's something wrong about this place anyway. Can you spot what exactly? There are too many hands on the clock. Finally, Jules and her team land on Mars. They're greeted by 5 local residents who don't seem to speak human languages. Can you figure out who's the boss here? All 5 guys are wearing some kind of crown, so it's hard to tell who's the king. But if we take a look at their shoes, we'll see that only the 4th guy is wearing shoes different from everyone else. He must be someone special. Jules jumps from a spaceship without any parachute and survives.
Oh my god.
How come? The spaceship wasn't flying, it was on the ground. Jules takes a tour of the local interplanetary space station. There, she sees a deaf Earthling who came over to pick up a pre-ordered part for his ship. How did he explain what he wanted to the delivery service? He just said it. He's deaf, but we didn't say that he was mute. Jules accidentally steps on a local resident's foot. On Mars, it's a serious crime, so they immediately arrest Jules and put her in a room with 3 doors. All the doors lead to freedom, but unfortunately, each way hides a dangerous surprise. The first door is guarded by angry dogs. Behind the second door, there is a huge lit firecracker that should burst in 5 minutes. A furious guard with a baton is waiting behind the third door. What would you rather choose? Jules can wait 5 minutes until the firecracker bursts and then walk through the second door. Jules returns to her spaceship and goes to the lounge area to get some rest. Can you see anything weird here? Take a look at the big screen. There's a video screensaver saying, "Welcome to Mars." The mirror should have reversed the letters, but it didn't.
Oh.
Suddenly, Jules hears loud noises from the lab and goes there to check. A glitch made all the robots stand up and walk in a chaotic manner. They can destroy the entire lab. Jules has only one option: turn the robots off. What button should she press to stop them? The inscription that says, "Shut down all robots," has a wire linked with the third button. Jules calls other crew members to help her fix the mess in the lab.
Oh, no.
There are 3 hidden emojis in this location. Can you spot them? This notebook over here is an emoji, just like this telescope and those scales. Jules goes to bed. The next morning, she wakes up in an abandoned space station. She explores the area and comes across 3 tunnels. There's a portal leading to Earth at the end of each tunnel. But there's a twist. Creepy space monsters are waiting in the first tunnel. Venomous scorpions are crawling all over the second tunnel. The third tunnel has motion detectors spraying strong acids that can dissolve any metal. Which way is more or less safe? Jules should choose the second tunnel. She's wearing a spacesuit. It'll protect her from scorpions.
Oh.
Neil was one of the best watchmakers in town. He got a call from the police station one day, asking him for help to solve a crime. 2 burglars were caught robbing shops in town. Amongst the things they stole, there were 2 watches. One of the burglars claimed that the watch they stole was a fake, so the police contacted Neil to see if that was really true. Take a look at both watches. Can you help Neil figure out which one is fake and which one is real? The watch on the left is a fake. If you look closely, you'll see that the miniature arm is too long, so it can't pass around the entire clock when it moves. Maya was an undercover police officer. On a Saturday night, she was off duty and decided to go to the movies. When she arrived, she saw 2 women who looked pretty suspicious. She remembered that the police were tracking down a girl who had escaped from prison the week before. Take a look at both women. Can you tell if one has escaped prison recently? It's the lady on the left. Her prison uniform is peeking through her coat. I mean, she should have at least changed clothes by now, right? Beth arrived at school and one of her best friends showed her a picture. She told Beth that if she got the answer correctly, she would get a week's supply of free chocolate. The friend said that one of the people in the picture wasn't human. Can you help Beth figure out the answer? It's the boy in the middle. He doesn't have a shadow, which means he's definitely not human. Ruby was traveling around India when she decided to stop for some tea. As soon as she walked inside the tea shop, the owner placed 2 teapots in front of her. He told her she would get a free cup of tea if she could figure out his riddle. He told her that the first teapot contained enough tea for 40 cups and asked to figure out, just by looking at the pot, how many cups of tea it could carry inside. Take a look at the image. Can you help Ruby figure out the answer? This is a tricky one. Probably the second teapot can only carry around 20 cups of tea. If you look closely, you'll see that the outlets of the first teapot is located in the middle of the pot. But the outlet of the second pot is located right at the bottom, so even if the pot is taller, it can't hold more water than the first one. After water hits the level of the outlet, it'll just start overflowing. Mary was walking in an enchanted forest when she met Randy, a magical unicorn. Mary asked the unicorn for some information, but he refused to talk to her unless she solved one of his riddles. He was a trickster and liked confusing people with his riddles. He told Mary that in a nearby field there were tigers and sheep. Usually one tiger could catch 3 sheep in 3 minutes. So he asked her how long it would take for 100 tigers to catch 100 sheep. Can you help Mary figure out the answer? It would still take 3 minutes, because each tiger is still catching 1 sheep in 3 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's 3 tigers or 100. The unicorn was surprised by Mary's abilities and gave her another riddle to solve. He asked her to name the 5 days of the week without saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. She also couldn't say whether it was the first day of the week or the last. What do you think Mary answered here? She said, the day before yesterday, yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. Clever girl, huh? Brianna was traveling on business, and her company put her in one of the best hotels in town. She arrived from work late at night, exhausted. She was getting ready to go to bed when she heard a knock on the door. When she looked through the peephole, she saw a man standing outside. The man said he was sorry for bothering her, but the hotel database had crashed and he needed to recheck some of her information. Brianna said she would be back in a moment, got away from the door, and called security. She said there was someone in the hotel trying to rob her. Take a look at the image. How did she know the man was a robber? Look at the man's name tag. It's a female name. He is surely not the real hotel manager. Luca decided to throw a party for his best friends. He invited over 20 people to the party, but he only bought 9 candies. He told his friends he would leave the candies inside a pretty little box, and they could each get 1 candy. 9 people took 9 candies, but 1 candy was still in the box. How could that be possible? It's pretty simple. The last person took the candy and the box. This way, 1 candy remained in the box. Noah reported to the police that someone had stolen his red motorbike the previous night, right out of his garage. The police started to search for it and tracked 3 main suspects. Take a look at them. Which one stole Noah's motorbike? It's this guy on the right. Look closely. His motorbike is painted, but the paint is dripping and one can spot the old red color. He must have stolen it and painted it in a different color so as not to attract any attention. But you caught him. It's the finale of the Big Money Buzz Show, and Natalie is faced with a difficult task. There are 3 fish bowls, each one of them containing a different amount of gold bars inside. If she manages to put her hand inside one of the bowls and take it out, she can keep the gold bar. The first bowl has scalding hot water inside of it. The second is filled with flesh-burning acid. And the last bowl has a couple of venomous scorpions walking around. Which bowl should she choose? Natalie should just wait until the water cools down and grab the gold bar from the first bowl. Smart, huh? Bobby was blindfolded and put into a shaky van. When he woke up, he was alone in a dark, empty room. There was nobody there, but there were 3 envelopes on the floor. A post-it on top of the envelope said, "Each envelope contains a red capsule and 2 statements. In one of these envelopes, both statements are false. In another envelope, both statements are true. You have to choose the correct capsule to get out of this alive." He opened the first envelope, saw a capsule and the message, 1. Don't eat this candy. 2. Take the candy from the second envelope. On the second envelope, the note said, 1. Don't take the candy from the first envelope. 2. Take the candy from the third envelope. And the last envelope said, 1. Don't eat this candy. 2. Take the candy from the first envelope. Which capsule should Bobby take? He should trust the candy from the third envelope. Let's see why. The first message of the first envelope is true, while the second is false. Both messages from the second envelope are true. This leaves us with 2 false statements on the third envelope. The manager of a gift shop got a call from the police station. The police told him there was a burglar on the loose. He dressed up as the Joker and was robbing local shops. But since it was Halloween, a lot of people were walking dressed up as the Joker. At that moment, 4 Jokers entered the shop. The manager got suspicious, so he made the people stand in a line while he examined which one of them was the criminal. Take a look at the image. Can you guess which Joker is the real thief? The thief is the second Joker on the left. Take a look at his shoes. They're much bigger than the other shoes. He must be hiding something inside of it. One afternoon, Sarah was playing video games at home. All of a sudden, she was swallowed by the TV and reappeared inside the game. In this phase, she had to find a way inside Clockwork City and look for a time machine. All she knew was that she needed to head north. When she arrived at the city's gates, the doors were closed. She tried pushing it, but it didn't move an inch. That's when a metallic voice came out of nowhere, saying that to enter the realm of time, Sarah needed to unlock the secret of that door by answering a riddle. The voice said,
I have keys, but I can't open the locks. I have space, but no room. And you can enter, but you can't go inside. What am I?
After a few minutes of thinking, Sarah figured out the answer. Can you guess what she said? It's a keyboard. They have keys, there is space between them, and you can enter data. But you can't physically go inside it. The huge doors opened and Sarah was inside Clockwork City. There was so much going on that she really got confused. She saw 3 beings made of metal standing side by side and decided to go ask for help. She asked them which way pointed towards the north. The 3 beings looked at each other and answered her, one by one.
I am Geary. I always speak the truth.
I am Crony. I never speak the truth. And I am Timey. I tell the truth sometimes, but I can also lie.
Sarah looked even more confused after this. A woman walked by her at that exact moment and told her that only one of them was speaking the truth. Which question should Sarah ask to figure out which one is the most trustworthy? This is tricky, but Sarah should ask them, is Timey telling the truth? Let's see how this could work. If Geary answered no, then Crony would have to say yes, since he never spoke the truth. This would mean that Timey was lying after all, and that the only trustworthy being over there was Geary. Geary pointed Sarah towards north, and she resumed her journey. After walking for hours and hours, Sarah was standing on a crossing. She had to choose between 4 highways. She saw that everyone who was taking the first highway was aging by about 50 years in a few seconds. The people who were choosing the second highway needed to swerve through the laser tags of artificially intelligent patrol robots. On the third highway, people were disappearing into some other dimension. And on the fourth highway, people turned into clocks and were distributed to other worlds. Which highway should Sarah take? The second one. Sure, she needs to face some laser tags, but that even sounds kind of fun, right? On her way up north, Sarah stumbled upon a huge crowd. All of the people in Clockwork City were going to watch the annual Great Gear Race. Almost every year, the engine that won the race was an old Swiss watch. Sarah took a seat in the stadium and watched the engines compete. But uh-oh, something weird happened. The old Swiss watch was outrun by a new Casio. The crowd was completely surprised, including Sarah. Sarah wasn't convinced that that was possible, so she went to do a little investigation of her own. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out why the new Casio won the race? If you look closely, the new Casio was running with a super technological rocket engine. I mean, of course, he would win the race. The mayor of Clockwork City was so happy that Sarah solved the race mystery that he invited her over for an after-party at his house. She was super hungry, so she said yes. When she arrived, a waiter offered her 3 beverage options. But as she reached for the cup, a random person ran past her and told her not to grab anything from that tray. They said one of the drinks was poisoned. Take a look at the image. Can you tell which cup was probably poisoned? That coffee cup is looking really green, isn't it? That's probably the poisoned cup. Sarah got out of there as fast as she could. She continued on her search for the time machine. After a few hours, she arrived at the entrance of an enormous cave. It had drawings of what looked like a time machine, so Sarah imagined that the object could be inside. But the entrance was locked. The lock asked for a 3-digit entry code. Sarah looked all around the cave to see if there were any hints regarding the code. That's when she found a small brass plate with the following inscription. 479. 1 gear is correct and in its proper place. 513. 1 gear is correct, but it's in the wrong spot. 268. 2 gears are correct, but both are in the wrong place. 695. None of the gears are correct. 742. 1 gear is correct, but it's not where it should be. Sarah took a while to figure out the exact combination, but when she entered the correct number, the doors swung open. Can you guess what she entered? The combination is 295. She tried a few times before getting it right, though. Now that she was inside the cave, Sarah needed to find where the time machine was hidden. This way, she could go back to her normal reality and hopefully become a millionaire in the process. But before she could move, the entrance of the cave closed behind her. It was pitch black inside, and out of nowhere, she felt someone capturing her. She woke up in a dungeon. The floor beneath her was earthy. It had nothing but a ventilation window way up high, a plate of food, and a random clock. Do you have any idea what Sarah could do to escape? Well, she could use that little spoon next to the plate of food to help her. Since the floor beneath her is earthy, she could use the spoon to make a high mound. Once the mound got tall enough, she could stand on top of it and escape through the ventilation window. Finally, Sarah managed to find a secret room inside the cave. She walked inside and there were several precious artifacts. She was so mesmerized by everything that she decided to take one of the items as a souvenir. Take a look at the image. There's a gleaming golden icon holding a precious stone. There's a beautiful vintage metal plate with a nice pattern. And there's an old and mysterious box that's locked and she can't really see what's inside. What do you think would be the safest thing for Sarah to take? Definitely the plate, right? I mean, the gold could be cursed, like in most Indiana Jones movies. And the box could have something dangerous locked inside it. So she should settle for the vintage metal plate. She took the metal plate and continued on her search. Amongst all the artifacts, she found 3 items that looked like a time machine. The first machine had the drawing of a rock. The second time machine had a drawing of a bonfire. And the last machine had a picture of a building. Which time machine should Sarah pick? She should pick the third one. The first machine would probably take her back to the Stone Age. The second machine would take her to when humans first discovered fire. And the last one would probably take her back to modern times. She turned it on and hopped inside of it. When she got out, she noticed she was in a huge city. Take a look at the image. Can you guess which city Sarah landed in? She landed in New York, New York. Look at that person's keychain. It says, "I love NYC." Oh, and that boy's hat also.
Anna and Barbara are cleaners at a fancy hotel. The hotel manager received a call saying that one of them had stolen precious jewelry from one of the clients. Now, look at the image. Can you figure out who did it? It was Anna. If you look closely, there's a shiny diamond inside that cleaning bucket. Uh-oh. Inside a high-security prison, 3 men were eager to escape. The first one was trying to break the cell bars. The second one was working out every day to get strong. The last one was quietly reading a book. One of these prisoners came from the future. Can you tell who? It's the one reading the book. He knows none of the other prisoners are going to make it. By reading books, he might get an answer on how to escape. And even if that doesn't happen, at least reading will help him stay on track until he gets out of there. Ben and Paula were watching a riddle channel at home. They got into a heated discussion about who would survive such a dangerous prank. Take a look at the image. Who do you think has the biggest chance at survival? It's the lady with the snakes. I know that sounds dangerous, but the snakes are small and not poisonous. Dan enrolled in a photography class. For his latest assignment, he needed to take a landscape picture and present it to the class. But Dan didn't have time to do the assignment, so he decided to Photoshop an image and show it in class. The teachers and students immediately saw that the picture wasn't real. How could they tell? Well, because the image has two suns. That's not natural. At least not on planet Earth. Maybe Tatooine. Otto decided to take a chance on online dating. After a few days, he started talking to Mandy. They got along pretty well and decided to meet in person. They agreed to meet in Mandy's favorite cafe. She told Otto that she would be using a couple of red hair clips and it should be easy for him to find her. But as soon as Otto arrived there, 3 women were using red hair clips. They were in fashion apparently. So take a look at the image. Can you help Otto find Mandy? Let's see. Mandy is the woman at the first table. She's the only one wearing a pair of hair clips. The woman on the left is using 3 clips, and the other is wearing just 1. Betty walked into a cafe and ordered a cappuccino. But the cashier told her it was her lucky day. He would give Betty her cappuccino for free if she managed to answer a riddle correctly. The cashier said there were 2 buckets filled with water all the way to the top. The buckets had equal height, but the temperature of the water inside the first bucket was 25 degrees Celsius, while the second bucket it was 25 degrees Fahrenheit. If a person dropped the coin inside both buckets at the same time, which coin would hit the bottom of the bucket first? Jenny took a few minutes to answer the riddle, but she got it right. Can you guess what she answered? She said it would hit the bottom of the first bucket first. It had to do with the state of the water in each bucket. At 25 degrees Celsius, the water is liquid, while at 25 degrees Fahrenheit, it turns to ice. Amy lives in a cozy townhouse with 3 roommates, Jill, Alice, and Nora. Take a look at these 4 bedrooms. Can you tell which one belongs to Amy? Let's go one by one, eh, Sherlock? In the first room, there's a comb with some green hair stuck to it. Nora's the one with the green hair, so that must be her room. Then, in the room to the right, there's a single red sock under the bed. Take a look at Jill's feet. She's missing that same sock. That must be her room. In the room right under this, there's a yellow jacket hanging on the chair, and Alice is wearing the same colored pants. It looks like the 2 pieces are a suit, right? That leaves the last room, with this huge letter A poster hanging on the wall. That must be Amy's room. Whew, that took some work. Annie was locked inside a room with 4 doors. On each door, there was a symbol of a creature hidden behind it. On the first door, there was a small dragon. On the second, there was a couple of vampires. On the third door, there was a mummy. And on the last door, there was a werewolf. One of the doors would open in 1 minute, but Annie didn't know which one. She had 3 different items she could use to protect herself: an axe, a torch, or an aspen stake. She needed to choose one that would help her fight any of the monsters. Which one should she choose? Her best option would be to choose the torch. The torch's fire can scare off any of the creatures and protect Annie. Olivia was running a marathon. Right before the finish line, she did her best and outran the person who was running in second place. The woman was happy and excited that she was going to win, But in a few seconds, she was very disappointed. Why? Because Olivia finished in second place when she wanted to finish first. This is what happened. She was fast enough to outrun the person who was going to win second place, but she wasn't fast enough to outrun the person who finished first. But hey, it's a good result anyway. Cheryl ran into her house extremely worried. She told the police officer she took off as soon as she heard the news. She was at her parents' house in another town and wanted to know what had happened to her husband while she was away. The officer said that someone had hurt Mr. Brown and that he ended up in the hospital. He said Mr. Brown was going to be okay, but he still needed to find out who had done this to him. The police officer had questioned 3 suspects so far. Mr. Brown's secretary said that she was sent to visit Mr. Brown's business partner in the morning because important documents needed to be signed. The house cook said he hadn't left the kitchen the entire day, since Mr. Brown had asked him to prepare a meal for him and his wife. And the housekeeper said that she hadn't heard anything. She spent the day doing chores. The officer realized who the culprit was in no time. Can you figure out who did it too? It was the cook. Mr. Brown probably didn't ask him to cook anything for his wife since she was out of town all along. These are Julia and Maria. They are both very attractive young women who have no trouble finding boyfriends. Today is Valentine's Day, and they're both going out with their loved ones. One of them is currently dating 3 people, though, so she's probably going to run from date to date. Just by looking at this image, can you tell which one it is? It's Maria, the one on the left. If you look at her workstation, she's got 3 presents lined up, one for each person she's currently seeing, who, I'm just guessing here, probably don't know about the others. Police officer Dave received a call late one night. A famous chemist went missing from his lab. After searching the lab thoroughly, Dave found a note with random numbers scribbled on it. The note read 26 3 58, 28 27 57 6. It took Dave a while to figure out the hidden message. The clue was on the periodic table. Can you figure it out? The chemist was smart. Each number on the note corresponds to an element in the periodic table. So the element that corresponds to the number 26 is Fe, or iron. The number 3 is Li, lithium. And 58 is Ce, cerium. Using this logic, the first line is spelled Felice. By the same logic, the second line is spelled out Nicholas. After discovering the names, Dave tracked the 2 men down and arrested them.